Hi, we're here with Michael and Delicato here at Sausalito at the record plant. And tell us a little bit about this place.
Well, there's a lot to tell about this place. It was opened in 1972, and John Lennon and Yoko Ono came to the opening night party, which was a Halloween party, dressed as trees. And the house band that night was the Grateful Dead. And George Harrison and a whole bunch of people showed up. And in the intervening 35 years since that time, the recording industry has went from boom to bust. And today, the recording studios are in decline, and we feel that the recording studios are still an important part of the musical production process. And it's almost akin to taking a correspondence course for college. You don't get the same experience. The musicians come to a studio to be together, and they create magic when they're together. But separated, they create something that's different, and it seems to be much more sterile. And so one of the ideas that we're having is we're going to keep the studio alive, even though it's not performing economically like we would hope. But we think that it's a critical part of music culture, and the Bay Area music legacy is the record plant here. So, after having 35 years of hit records out of this place, including Fleetwood Mac Rumors in this very room, Santana's Supernatural, Stevie Wonder's songs in the Key of Life, it's hard to let it go.
Yeah.
And once it's gone and turned into an office building, you can't recreate the magic. So our idea is to take the building and to use it as a multi-purpose facility so that we can allow the studio to remain alive as a functioning pro recording studio, and at the same time having a different revenue stream to allow other things to happen here to keep it on its feet. And the Bridgeway Music Foundation is a foundation that a group of people here in Marin are founding that will operate out of the plant and allow people to use the studio as a place to learn recording skills, producing skills, mastering skills, engineering skills, and then we're also doing special events like tonight. And tonight we're kicking off the Music Foundation, and we're having a party that is inviting the community, and we're reaching out. The plant has never been open to the public in 35 years. So tonight is the first, or this weekend is the first weekend that the public's been invited. And as such, we have had a great response, and we feel that the community really needs to be enlightened as to the sort of ideas that we're pursuing. And we've been very, very well received on this weekend, and it's just the beginning of hopefully a long road of outreach and support from the community.
You had a gathering here Saturday?
We had our first gathering on Thursday night for the Robert Altman retrospective of his work from the 60s, and his book entitled 60s was a photographic remembrance of the Summer of Love and the musical community at that time. And we had 600 people show up for that party here, and it's amazing how the people that were 20 years old in 1967 are not spring chickens anymore. And so they were here in full force, and it was something that they were very happy to be able to attend and to reunite with a number of their kindred spirits, and it was a magical event. We had Robert Altman and Jim Marshall and a number of other photographers here that were there, at the important moments during the Summer of Love and the sort of important points along the Northern California, historical moments, such as the sort of, the movement free speech movement at Berkeley, and we had a lot of counterculture ideals happening in San Francisco at that time. So these were the people that were there, and hearing them talk about those experiences and then reliving them in their sort of photographic honesty was profound. A couple of the people that were in the actual photographs from that time were saying, "That's me," and you couldn't recognize these people, but it was amazing to see them and the response that they had to themselves, 40 years ago.
Will you get him to share with us? Ask us. Okay, Michael, will you share with us your role here at the record plant?
Michael, will you share with us the role you have here at the power plant?
The record.
The record plant.
Okay, wait, do it again.
Power plant. Sorry. Michael, will you share with us the experiences,
The role
that you have?
No.
Michael, will you share with us the role you have here at the record plant?
Of course. My role here has been one of an outsider. I came to purchase the record plant, which is now called the plant, about 3.5 years ago, and I did so out of the conviction that if I didn't buy it, that somebody was going to buy it and turn it into a self-storage unit, which we have too many here in Marin, and certainly this is such a profound piece of real estate in the sense that, having Stevie Wonder sitting in this room writing his most famous record and recording it here, and then hearing Stevie Nicks talk about how she wrote the song Dreams down the hall and then came back, the next day and recorded it. It's hallowed ground, and it's very easy to let something like this slip by if people aren't vigilant. And that's why I stepped in. I'm in the guitar business, but just saw what was going to happen. And now we're asking the community, and especially the music community, to step up to the plate and help us not only keep the plant alive, but also to reinvigorate the music scene here in California, which has been dramatically changed by the sort of escalation of real estate prices in the Bay Area, starting in the .com era. So you had Narda, who was one of our major producers that lived here, Walter Afanasieff, a major producer that lived here, Linda Perry, a major producer and artist that lived here, all went to Los Angeles because the people up-and-coming artists could not afford to record here anymore or live here. So that tide has begun to turn. Narda is back, and Walter has been making noises about coming back, and we're trying to get Linda to think about coming back, and that those are the building blocks of a successful music community. It's the producers, the studios, the clubs, and all this has been really, and the loss of Bill Graham was also another important loss for us, because he was an amazing component of the San Francisco music scene, and his death was the beginning of the sort of decline, and so we're looking for a new Bill Graham, and we're looking for new producers and new energy, and somebody's got to make it happen. It just won't happen on its own. Somebody has to spearhead this process, and Narda and myself and Jerry Harrison and a group of other music aficionados in the Bay Area, Carlos Santana, we're concerned about it, and we're going to do something about it.
Great.
We really, really appreciate that. I really thank you for that myself personally. I know not too long ago a friend of mine is the son of Hilly Crystal, and CBGB's has just closed, and it's an icon in a different way, but I think it's very true what you're saying, and it's very important. I personally want to thank you for taking your effort, for what you're doing.
Well, thank you very much. And that was, again, we have the same thing happening on a smaller level. A club called the Sweetwater here in Mill Valley, which is a few miles from here, is now about to close, and it's been here for about 30 plus years, and was the heart of the small club. You'd have Carlos Santana coming there to jam. You'd have the Grateful Dead showing up. You'd have the Doobie Brothers showing up, and all the musicians that would tour here would come and play the big concert halls, and then the next night they'd play the Sweetwater. So it was a phenomenal asset to our music community, and now it's closing. And as we've had Tower Records closing and Village Music in Sausalito closing, it seems to be that music has started to become less important, and it's really a problem, because I think once these music icons are gone, that people are really going to regret it. And so and awareness is critical, and people who will be on the front lines to do something about it. As I've said, that Narda and Carlos and Jerry Harrison and Arnie Frager, who's been here at the plant for 20 years, and a number of the people that have stepped up to the plate to help are the people that we need to really work with and appreciate what they're doing.
Well, it's key. Obviously the room is key in that. This is a room for live instrumentation. A lot of the music today maybe falls away from that. As successful and as versed as the music may be, the live instrumentation and the feeling and the sound in a room, you don't just put sound in any room.
Right.
Can you share a little bit for our audience?
Well, I'm not as technically versed and in the sort of dynamics of the room. What I do know is that when the artists come in here, they know what they want. They walk out there, they snap their fingers. They know the sound. They know that they've got a Neve 9068 console behind them, 8068 console behind them, and they know that they've got the best microphones, and they can, if they can't do it in this room with all the hits, Supernatural, with songs in the key of life, with Rumors, with Grateful Dead's biggest record, Dave Matthews. If they can't do it in this room, it can't be done, because it's already been done here time and time again. So the artists are aware of that, and it's beyond just the sound. It's a sort of mojo that people find, and a spiritual sort of connection that they have with a certain room and certain people that work in the room, and people that have visited here, almost the spirits that linger on. Having Bob Marley's first American recording in this room, and Frampton doing a precursor to his Frampton Comes Alive record, it means something to people, and it's a critical part of why people want to come here and record. So the room is important, but also what's happened in the room in the past is also something that draws people in.
That's awesome.
You just told us about Bob Marley and his first American recording here. Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about this poster in the background?
Yes, the poster in the background was a gift to the plant by Carlos Santana that I believe he gave to the plant right after he recorded Supernatural here. He did parts of Supernatural also at Fantasy Studios in Berkeley, which is our other sister studio that has a great discography and lineage. It's actually slated to close this month. So again, it's rising real estate prices and lowering cost to record music that has really made it difficult to stay alive in the studio business. But Carlos put this together as a thank you, and it's a collage of his famous artists. You see Marley there, you see Miles Davis, John Coltrane, Stevie Ray Vaughan, Jimi Hendrix, and so this is an inspiring piece of art to sit behind every day, knowing that Carlos was moved by these people, and that a number of them have been in this room and have done some of their best work here.
That's amazing. It's amazing. Could you share with us a couple other things that may be coming up here at the plant for the public who would be interested, and we hope to come out and support?
Great. As I mentioned, that the first night that the plant opened, we had John Lennon here and Yoko and the Grateful Dead and George Harrison, and it was a Halloween party. And so the plant went on to have this amazing history of Halloween parties, and this will be the 35th anniversary of the opening of the plant in October. And on October 26th, we are going to be hosting a gala and a concert. And Sly Stone is slated to play, Blues Traveler, the band War, and many more are coming that I can't mention at this time, but it's going to be an amazing evening of music and support for our Bridgeway Music Foundation. That is the foundation that we hope to lead the Bay Area back into the sort of realm of what it was in the past, which was the most vibrant music scene in the world. And we hope that can happen again, and we're doing everything that we can to do that, and we're looking for everyone's support in October. And then next June we're going to have another major festival here, and we expect to raise millions of dollars for this effort, and believe that it will lead to a successful foundation and a successful place for people to start recording again, and young students coming in for free that don't have the money to do this, and hopefully that this is the beginning of a new phase in the music scene here in San Francisco.
The last facet you just described sounds very much like a Santana kind of influence. Is he involved in that?
Well, Carlos has taken a year off, and he has not really done any touring this year, and extensively touring in the past number of years, but he's taken a breather, and Carlos is interested in reaching out to the communities outside of our shores. He's looking towards Africa to the next generation of songwriters and greatness. And actually, Carlos and Narda and Sting and Stevie Wonder did a song called "How I Love My Life" recently. It was written by a gentleman named Ishmael Lowe, who's an African songwriter and musician, and it's on Narda's new album. It's an amazing song, and I think that's the beginning of a look towards other places where we traditionally haven't reached for inspiration for music. And so with that kind of backing and the quality of the songs that we're seeing out of these people, it's, I think, something that can be an amazing transformation, and maybe that's the beginning of the new music scene in San Francisco, is reaching out beyond the United States, because that's what it was in the old days, that we had Ronnie Montrose coming from Colorado, and you had Janis Joplin coming from Texas, and you had Carlos coming from Mexico, but it was all a North American activity, and so now we're looking beyond that, and Carlos coming up with the idea to look towards to Africa and France, where some of these African musicians are living now, to come up with the next wave of great music. And really, if you look at music today, my personal opinion is that we don't have the quality of music that we've had in the past, and we need to look, rather than inward, we need to look outward, and perhaps looking outward will make us focus on ourselves, and then we can be introspective and start making great music again here in the United States. It seems to be that we've the well has run dry at this point, and we need to do something different. And I think people like Narda and Carlos and those people recognize that there's a whole world of music, a universe of music out there that needs to be tapped into and appreciated and embraced.
I'm really, really glad to hear that. I've always believed that the world beats are going to come to the forefront. I'm really glad to see people in the forefront believe that and are acting on that, and that I'm not totally crazy on that note. So I'd really, really like to thank you again for letting us to be here. I'd like to ask you about the event yesterday. For me, it was very powerful to see that many people there, and you're talking about the music coming back to the city, and it looks to me like there's a hunger.
Yeah, I think you're right, and it's kind of ironic is that you see that here in the 21st century that people have sort of lost the passion for doing what's right, whether it be politically, musically, artistically, and that is a sad thing. And I think that people like Narda and Carlos, those guys recognize that people have to do more than just want it. They have to make it happen. It's not just something that you can, do by inactivity. You have to reach out for it, and we have a great opportunity. Where there's a void, there's always an opportunity. And right now, we have a big void here, and we believe that there's a major opportunity, and it's time to exploit that opportunity to the benefit of everyone here in the Bay Area, and that benefits the world. I told someone tonight is that I was in Spain recently, and was in an airport, and I heard 3 songs in a row that had been recorded at the plant. I thought, it is important what we've done here in the city, and the sort of progressive viewpoints that we have politically, artistically, it's musically. It's changed the world, and right now there's a hunger for it, but it has to go beyond that. It has to go. The hunger has to go into activity, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people to stand up and to support what has been, something that's been great in the past.
And for those who are prepared to do just that, to stand up and support something that's been great in the past and will continue to be great through the present and the future, can you tell them Bridgeway Foundation is a way to reach you, I would imagine? There's others. Will you share?
Yes. Our Music Foundation, as I mentioned, is a way to reach out to those who are disenfranchised and to bring them together. And it's all about community. As I mentioned, the concept of doing music in a sterile environment by yourself is not the same as having a Jerry Harrison in the studio with you, having a Narda, a Walter Afanasieff in there with the musicians working together. And that's what it takes. It takes a community, and it takes people and their inspirations and working together. And that's where the magic comes from. And, it's very easy. It's more comfortable to say, you know what? We've done part of our track today. I'll take it home. I'll play around with it on my Pro Tools system, and it'll be cool. But having those musicians in that room saying, "No, you got to try it like this," or "No, this doesn't work," that is the energy that lights the world up. And it's stopped in a major way, and the technology has been a huge part of that. And so we are looking forward to the day that the budget that the record companies used to provide, which was substantial, would be back again. And if it's not from the record company, it's from the music community, because they want to see a quality music. And it's important for everyone's lives. This is something that affects every single one of us every day, and it's very important, and people have been letting it go. So to support our initial efforts, we can't say that we're going to change the world ourselves. We need everyone's help, and we need to sort of start a movement that will bring people to the realization that what we're talking about is very important, and it's slipping by, and it's not that difficult to recapture what happened here in the past. And so that's what we're looking for. We're looking for people that can go beyond saying, I'm comfortable with my iTunes, the sound and the quality of that, and the digital divide, which is great these days. We want people to say, hey, we want not only songs that are great songs, but sound great. And that's where the digital world has fallen down. It's like, yes, it's the same song. It doesn't even sound remotely as good as it would if it were done on tape, and even transferred to digital from tape. It sounds so much better done correctly, rather than done at home on a little, portable recorder. And that's what's happening these days.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm a photographer, and anytime I shoot on film, I know that even though it's going to go digital in the end, the fact that I went analog in the beginning,
right,
I've got a better quality, and that's what you're speaking about.
Same
and I agree with that. On the digital divide, I'd like to offer, I think that some of those people that you're talking about may not be audio engineers working digitally. Maybe they will. But I think also people who bring the ability to take the tools that technology is giving us today to turn around and take their music to the forefront and go and build the music they believe in versus what the label will fund them.
Right.
And I think taking that technology and moving forward with that, I think some of those people, because you said about San Francisco being a spot that shines light on the globe, and I believe that, and that's part of the reason I'm here and paying respect today. And I'd like to see the technology that's here and the music come together to be able to support, because there's an independent spirit here, and that independent spirit is, like you had said, if the public demands it, well, believe me, the record label will back it.
Exactly.
So I just wanted to comment on that.
Yeah. Well, we're in an interesting environment where the big record labels are really having a difficult time, and some of the people that I've talked to have said, the record labels are going to go away. This is all going to be something that is captured in a much more direct method, and the artists will again be empowered, where they have been now reduced to getting 40 cents or 20 cents for an iTunes download, and Steve Jobs makes the bulk of the money on our music. And
we're not selling albums; we're selling ringtones.
Ringtones and singles. And you have to give the guy credit for having the foresight to see what the record labels missed, which was, you produce enough bad records where there's only 2 or 1 good song on it, and try to sell it for $14 or $16. And Steve Jobs came back and said, I want to take that one song and sell it for 99 cents, because more people will buy that for 99 cents than the people will pay $14. And that's
and the record labels jumped on it because Napster was going to give them a real ride.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, music is there for the people, and I think if the people embrace the music, it'll be brought back
right
to the people. And by letting go, it's like if you let go of your child's hand, she might get lost. So hold on tight, and hold on tight to the music and to the spirit, and I feel what you're saying, and I'm supportive.
Appreciate that, and it's a changing environment, and just like maybe there were people that were sentimental about the demise of the typewriter, but this is not about a typewriter or a piece of paper with spots of ink on it. This is music, and this has affected our culture in a profound way. And think about what's happened in the last 57 years in American music, starting with Les Paul and with Miles Davis and John Coltrane and Buddy Holly and Albert King and B.B. King, and the great music that's happened and how that has shaped our culture, and how that was exported around the world and made us great. It's one of the things that made us great. And right now, we've got Britney Spears, we've got these rappers that are not really musicians at all. And with all due respect, there's some great work in all genres, but the stuff that is, you go back and compare what was winning at the Grammys in 1970, and you look at what's winning today, and look at the depth and quality of the music. It's scary.
For me, it's sad to see, and I'm a videographer, but it's sad to see what video brought to music.
Right.
When it mattered more what you looked like than what you sounded like.
Exactly.
In the marketing of the music. And again, I think it's up to the public to demand more, because, as you said, there's a lot of artists that are out there today, whether it be rap or other genres, that really maybe don't have that ability. But I think in respect to that market, I think there's a lot of great artists out there, and I think a lot of them really don't get the backing. If they were given that room, like you said, with the musicianship and the musicians there, I think that a lot of these artists today, respectfully, have something there that isn't being able to be blossomed to its fullest. And I think it really is up to us to demand more from our music, and because I think the artists themselves are getting shortchanged in many ways.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you look at how artist development worked back in the day, it's like when you had Warner Brothers, that they were bringing in bands like Montrose and Van Halen and the Doobie Brothers, and then they would go out and get a Captain Beefheart, and they would get these artists that they knew wouldn't sell a lot, but they knew it was important to the art, and the sort of art has become something that's negligible now, and it's very sad. You never see somebody like that getting signed and getting supported, and a lot of bands that took a lot of artist development today would have never made it in this environment, including the Beatles, who George Martin said he signed them because he loved the energy. He didn't think they were great artists at the time. He said, but I like their energy and their camaraderie, and he took a chance and signed these kids, and look what it did.
He wanted to nurture something that he saw had its own life.
Exactly, and he was absolutely right. You could never get that today in a, it's like what's your hit? Let's hear your hit, and how many seats are you selling in your club touring, and that's it. It has nothing to do with making a judgment call based on a skilled producer. The producer has been pulled out of the equation, and as such, it's been left up to the sort of people at the record label who are now not music people. They're MBAs who are brought in and make a decision based on numbers rather than finely honed sense of musicality and potential importance.
Right. The scouting has gone away from somebody that has that tone in their ear and that knowledge as to what can be put together in a musical world, and it moves to what are the hits on MySpace and things of that nature. And that's why I think it's very important that the independent artists hear the fact that an individual like yourself is willing to come in and keep a place like this open, and not only that, train people who are prepared to pour their heart's blood in to the music. And I think it's a really big blessing you're offering to the people here, and I think using that in conjunction with the technology today and getting their own music out there, because I look to somebody in your era, and I look to Frank Zappa, and I say, wow, how many albums did this man produce, and how many times was the record label there to say, we're going to get you on the air? But yet he produced some of the greatest music, and he had that inspiration to just do it irregardless.
Right.
And I think the kids today need to take that same spirit, and you offering a place like this, I mean, it's monumental. And
well, thank you.
Kudos.
And then having, again, with someone like Narda working with us, and Jerry Harrison, Davey Vane, these producers who are willing to say, you know what, I'm not going to make a lot of money on this, but I'm going to do it because I love it. And I think it's important, and it's part of our world that really needs to have, to go on. And so I am extremely grateful to those people, and we want to give all artists a chance. It's something that is extremely important, and it's not that difficult to do. So here we are, and hoping that we can fulfill our promise to the next generation. And we reach out for everyone's support, and hope that we can accomplish what we're setting out to do here.
We're at the record plant in Sausalito, California. Today is September 3rd, the day after the 40th anniversary celebration of the Summer of Love. We're with Michael Indelicato, and he's fighting to keep music alive. Thank you so much for having us, Michael.
Great. Thank you very much. My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. My name is Michael Indelicato. We are at the record plant in Sausalito, California, and we are here doing an interview for Warning TV.